Nosa moved to the UK with 278 pounds. Like, I mean, I don't say how much I moved to Canada with. He's really small, but he wasn't that small. And yeah, he moved alone. He didn't have a family, so maybe that's different. But still, 278 pounds. And then he talks about the part where he's like, it took me 6 months before I had my first Burger King. And when I had my first Burger King, I was like, yeah, I've had Burger King. And I was like, I just couldn't stop laughing. But you know what? Enjoy. Let's watch this episode. Welcome.
Thank you.
Honestly, I like to get straight to it. And 12 years. I think the question I always ask anyone who's been here this long is, why did you think of moving that? Was it school that brought you to Canada at that point?
Yeah, I'll go back and tell you the whole story because I jackpot twice, right? But I'll tell you. But thank you for having me, bro. But it's great to be here. My mom told me that I would be a star, but I didn't know we'll start from your podcast. So for me, it is a great delight to be on this side, and it is amazing. In fact, my first podcast ever. I was telling you that earlier in the day. So it's huge for me. So my story is kind of different. Most people would have come here as an immigrant, student, then gone through the course. So when I say I jackpot twice, so I'll go back to Nigeria and then tell you how I finished school in Nigeria, and I'm like, okay, because Nigeria is such an education-focused mindset that you have a BSc degree, that's not enough. You have to go get a master's. That is not enough. You have to get a master's from an international university. After that, you do a PhD and all of that stuff. So I said, okay, I want to get a master's abroad. And the UK is where I moved to first. So I actually moved from UK to Canada, actually. So I moved to UK in 2000. I'd worked in a bank for 3 years in Nigeria. And I'm like, okay, it's time to move. So I moved to the UK. I was in Manchester for 7 years. Worked at another bank there, Barclays Bank. Then it was 2012 that we moved here. So my journey has been, and the question is why? Dude, why did you?
Yeah.
So my story is, it's funny, and I share this. My mom's a comedian. I share this with her, and she laughs. So my mom was a trader, hustler, or still is, right? Didn't no formal education for her, but she was very good at turning peanuts into fortune, right? So she'd sold everything. So around the time I was getting born, she had started trading in Europe, buying shoes, buying bags, bringing lace to Nigeria. In the 70s, then we had money. There was oil boom.
Yeah.
There's a famous leader of Nigeria that said, money is not our problem, it's how to spend it. So at that time, the Nigerian naira was stronger than the US dollar. And the pound was either at par or slightly. So she would go on trips, spend 2 weeks, shop with these big mega stores, and then bring to Nigeria and sell. She had a store in Yaba and one in Yaba Market hadn't really opened then, but later on had a store in Yaba Market and Lagos Island. So back to, why. So on one of these trips, she had me. She was pregnant. So she left. She was in Spain, Italy. Our last journey was in Italy to buy shoes and buy baby products. There's a baby company product called Kiko. I don't know if they still exist. So she left Italy on the 19th of October because she refused to stay. My mom's stubborn. They're like, oh, she's like, my food is not here. I'm not going to eat spaghetti. She calls it spaghetti. So she left Italy and then came to Nigeria and then gave birth to me at 12 noon on the 20th. So, and I'm looking, I'm like, oh, we used to talk about it, Mom. She said to me, there was no need to leave abroad at the time. Nigeria was the bomb, right? Until leadership, failed us. So fast forward 20-something years later, I'm thinking, Nigeria hasn't changed. If you look at that documentary by Onyeka Onwenu, it's the same consumption mentality that has been stressing us out in the 70s, 80s, and 90s that is still wrong with us in 2000. So I said, you know what, with 280 pounds in my pocket to go and study a 15,000 pound MBA, I went to the UK and said, when I got there, I said, I'm not going to come back to Nigeria until I have a plan B, meaning another passport. I'm not going to lie, because people have gone back to Nigeria and regretted moving back because everything is good and nothing you lose. So that's my journey. I was in the UK for almost 8 years, moved here in 2012 with my family and then my wife alone. Then now we have 2 kids here. So it's Canada has been home. So the transition has been like this. Nigeria first, and I still go back home. I go back to Nigeria every 2 years just to have the feel. I'm culturally, I'm based home. I'm baked at home. So that's a summary of my story, man. That's it's been a good experience.
Just curious, like, so I mean, I don't talk about when you move, like, you're pretty young, but like the movement between, and maybe I'll talk about it actually, but the movement between the UK and Canada, like, was it that different between when you moved from Nigeria to the UK?
Yes, it was. And I'll give you a few tips, right? Me, I'm a nomad. So anywhere I find people is home for me. Cool. I left home at age 9 to boarding school. So I adapt very easily. There's nowhere you put me, I will adapt. So everybody's my friend in 2 seconds. So sometimes I don't even call back home. So the move to UK for me, I'm sorry, anybody who is from UK, I never liked the UK. I still don't like it. Right? It's dingy, it's wet. They have a small mindset. They put you in a box. Before you know you're formed in that mindset. They are small, dingy houses, right? So we never really liked the UK, and I knew I wasn't going to stay long. My goal then was to move back to Nigeria, right? So the move to the UK at the time was survival mode, and I'll give you why it was survival mode. I got my student visa to go study in the UK. The cost was £15,000, University of Hull. I hope I'm not giving away tips here anyway, but I'm just going to say, and I had £280 in my pocket. No, it wasn't 280, I lie. £278 in my pocket. And I got into the airport. I remember this guy coming to me. I was wearing a suit because I worked in the bank at the time, coming to meet me and say, "Hey, sir, my sister is on this plane. She has never traveled in her life before. Please help me look after her." And I laughed. I'd never traveled in my life before. But I had that confidence. I just said, "You know what? What's wrong, man? We'll make it work." And I said, "Okay, really? Okay. Come on, just follow me. We'll be fine." So that move, when I got to the UK, I remember I landed Heathrow, then from there moved to Manchester. In fact, I hadn't even 2 days before I traveled, I didn't know where I was going to stay. Didn't know where I was. No joke. The guy was supposed to accommodate me, stop picking my calls.
Oh, gosh.
It was 2 days before another friend of ours said, "Oh, come stay." So then I had to learn systems. I had to learn how things work. I had to learn a duty yourself. Because in Nigeria, I'll pay for everything. You have a driver, you have somebody cleaning your garage and stuff. There was always somebody to do the work. But here it's DIY. So I learned that in Manchester at the time. So it wasn't it was a real adapting thing because I knew I had to work. So first thing I did was defer my education and started working. I was working in a bank in Nigeria, started working in a factory. I'm telling you, that £280 went pretty quick.
Yeah.
And my body at the time, great guy, love him, but also wanted to conserve. Because in the UK, they teach you to conserve money a lot, right? You have to pay for all the bills. So there's something called bills in the UK. So the guy will say, "Guys, I'm leaving at 6 a.m. You guys have to leave as well. Go hustle and come back." So the survival instinct in me was more urgent and more activated quickly in the UK than it was in Canada. Because my first time abroad, I didn't understand the system. And I'd gone in with no money at all. And it was just me. So practically, the first time I had a burger in the UK was 6 months after I moved in. I'm telling you, I had a Burger King, £6. I was like, yes, I finally did it. Because I was always thinking, how much is it? No, don't spend. My calculation was always in pounds and pennies. Like, dude, you can't spend this money because there's still school fees to pay.
Yeah.
Right. I'm happy that I ended up doing 2 degrees. I did another degree, BSc, and then I had a master's and MBA. So it was UK was harder. It was harder. Going to Canada, I saved up money from the UK. It was me and the missus. So we had some good money in our account. There was no rush.
Yeah.
I could rent a place where we stayed. So in fact, as God would have it, my wife already kind of landed a job before she came.
Sweet.
So she started work 2 weeks after we moved in. I got a job in the same 2 weeks after we moved in, but I was supposed to start December 4th. We moved here October. So they're going to do all my security checks in the UK and all of that stuff. So if you look at it on a broader shelf, moving to the UK was harder. harder to adapt, harder to maneuver than Canada was. Canada, I found the people more friendlier. I find people who wanted to genuinely help you sometimes, most times actually. And I settled easier here. Apart from the cold, I settled easier here.
No one ever is used to that cold.
Bro,
Gosh,
man,
like no one is used to that cold.
I'll tell you a joke, right? So I moved, and 2 days later they had a snowstorm, 2 hours. And this kind of snowstorm we had in 2006 in the UK, and everywhere was grounded. Everywhere, no airports flying. The kind of one we have here, the normal one we have here that they'll say is 20 centimeters or whatever. I came and it was snowing. I looked outside and I'm like, what is happening here today? I'm like, nobody will go to work. In this Canada, everybody was going to work. The buses were moving. I called my boss. I said, listen, I know I told you I was going to resign. Do you still have my letter? He's like, I haven't sent it to HR yet. I said, hold on to it. Don't send it yet. So yeah, it was something else. It was an amazing experience. But moving twice in the last 20 years has been an eye opener. And I prefer the Canada move because I was more rested. I had about £35,000 in my pocket saved over the years, and I'd done work. So it was easier for me to just chill.
Yeah, but you know something to add, which is, and the probably Canada move is kind of defeats that in a way, but I still think that it still holds. I tell people that especially when you're moving from a place where the currency is much lower, that you don't move to the West with money. I think you move to the West with character and something in your head.
Yeah.
That if you
especially if you're Nigerian.
Yeah. But if you think that, because the kind of money you need to move and say, I don't care, it has to be money you stole. It has to be like a politician's kid. Yeah, exactly. And most of the average person who's leaving doesn't have access to that kind of money. So if you say to yourself, oh, I'm moving to Canada today and I have 100 million naira in my account, I'm like, yo, the system's going to take that money from you.
Easily.
Because you're going to pay rent, you're going to pay bills, you're going to have to do stuff. And so if you have nothing to give, the system will quickly find you out, and then you will start to struggle. And you'll be like, but I had some money with me. But the point is that if you say, I said people, when people say they want to move, I'm like, no, you don't move here with money. You move here with, like, what do you have value? What can you give? Because you need something to give people to get money back.
You have drive, right? Right off the back, what happens is, I'll just give you one thing that brings you to reality. The exchange rates are not equal. So 100 million naira in Nigeria comes here and becomes maybe $100,000.
It halves like
more than half.
Actually more than half. Yeah.
So imagine when you move in and you think you're a millionaire in Nigeria, all of a sudden the money doesn't. There's a friend of mine who said, oh, they were asking him how much he has and in his Nigerian account, and he said he has 2 million naira, and the guy, the immigration is thinking you have $2 million in his head because he thought 1 to 1. And excuse me, most of the people here, because they're not widely traveled in the UK, the US, they've never left their countries. They don't understand exchange rates sometimes, right? They think it's dollars. So this guy was at immigration and you have $2 million in your account. What do you do? So he kept answering the questions, and all of a sudden my friend realizes, wait, dude, you're equating $2 million to 2 million naira to $2 million. It's not the same. Started to explain exchange rates to him and how much of a peanut he had in his account. The guy's like, okay, now I get it. It's culture shock, my brother. Culture shock.
And now that you mentioned cultural shocks, like, what were the biggest ones for you in the UK? And then seeing that you live in the UK for 7 years, when you moved to Canada, did you still have any cultural shock moments in Canada?
Oh yeah. There's always culture shock. I think me living in the UK for that long kind of helped me balance and understand. But the biggest culture shock in the UK was, in Nigeria, we're used to dressing well to work. That also happened to me in Canada, right? We wear the nice suits, nice tie. You have a bank job. I'll tell you a story. I went to a Subway job with a suit and tie and a suit. I'm telling you, I had this brown suit that I love so much, and with my brown tie and the black shirt. So I can't remember. I remember the interview that day, and it was a Subway job. And this young British kid came in with his sneakers, t-shirt, and jeans. So guess what? We both got the job, right? So the first culture shock in the UK was, dude, don't take yourself too seriously. We don't overdress here, right? Just calm down and do your thing. The other culture shock was, I'm trying to remember the other culture shock that I had in Manchester when I was living there. It's funny. There's so many. The organized bus systems. Okay, the other thing that I learned was I didn't hear a car honk for at least 6 months to a year.
That one
So
hits everyone hard. Like
yeah.
it hits.
So the first time I heard the car honk, I'm like, oh, what's happening here?
You're
Right?
like, is there a problem?
Yes, there's a problem. So that was in the UK. Then even more, the dressing thing in Canada is even worse.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I don't know if Toronto is different, but because of what I used to do in the UK, wedding MC, event MC, I had a good collection of suits, right? So I came into Canada and said, okay, you know what? If I don't get a banking role that I'm used to, I'll definitely just then work in oil sands or something. But luckily, I got a bank job. So I'm coming to work all decked up. My shoes are shining. First of all, your shoes can't even shine too long because there was snow. There's snow everywhere.
Yeah.
It messes up your
Yeah.
shoe, right? So I learned quickly that I had to not use leather soles, but rubber sole shoes, right? Early enough. But I'm in work, all dressed up, tie and everything, and everybody's looking at. I looked overdressed, so I now started to tone down a little bit, and So then another culture shock here is in Nigeria when somebody's doing birthday party, you're the one that is buying drinks for everybody. Well, abroad, when somebody calls you and says it's my birthday, come and eat at the restaurant. So this happened to me in Manchester, no joke. So this guy calls and says it's my birthday, everybody come. And there were like 12, 14 of us, the long table and all that. So me, thank God I didn't leave first because my idea was I finished eating, I finished drinking, let me stand up and go. So my guys that came stood and said, okay, guys, we're going and started to pay. They split the bill into 14 places and started paying his portion. And then the waiter gives me my portion. I'm like, I don't understand. You invited me to come on to your birthday. Why am I paying? So that was culture shock. And the thing about me is I quickly adapt so that I don't put my leg in my foot. I'm not the guy. You will not catch me. Before you know what happened, I'm like, okay, now so that you do it for here. Okay, let's quickly adjust and make it work. So those are a few things that we kind of saw. And system is different. We've seen deeper things in terms of culture. And you have to just learn the way things are done in Rome for you to be a Roman.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about that dressing thing, I have this theory. I mean, I don't say it out loud everywhere, but I'll probably just say it on here. I'm like, in Canada, the ladies dress way better than the guys.
There are options. They have more options now.
The guys here dress in Canada. The dressing is horrible.
How many times I've gone to see clients and I'm like, okay, the guy's in the jean shirt, and so I feel overdressed. So I cannot tone down. So what I've been doing is researching whatever companies I'm going to meet. If you're a manufacturing company, I'm too sure you're wearing the jeans to work, right? I'm not going to wear jeans, but I'm not going to go there all decked up in a suit and tie, right?
Yeah.
You have to mirror. You always have to. One of the things they taught us in customer service 101 is mirror the customer, not only in appearance, but if the guy is an energy person, try to catch up to that pace. If it's somebody who's just chilled, don't come out because if it's so. I learned that, and I always research the client before I go see them, and I just dress accordingly.
Yeah. So I know you do stuff, entertainment and stuff, and I want to ask a question around that, but I think I want to build up to that with this question, which is 12 years here. Like, what's Canada been like when you moved, and what's it like now? Like, what are the biggest changes you've seen between like when you moved here 2012 and now with 2024? So that's that's 12 years. Yeah.
What's not changed, first of all, is the weather. It's gotten worse, but we'll talk about that another day. I think a lot more. So Canada used to be a word or a country that nobody knew back home. Period. They hear Canada, but there are not so many Nigerians here. So much so that if you're trying to change the Canadian dollar back home, nobody knows what the Canadian dollar is. Nobody knew what it was 10, 12 years ago. But now, when I went to Nigeria 2 years ago, even 5 years ago, they knew I could change the Canadian dollar. I could bring Canadian dollar and change with the rate of change. So that has shown that there's a huge influx of Nigerian immigrants in Canada.
Yeah.
I was the only Black commercial banker of Nigerian descent in Edmonton for the longest time period, right, in my bank. Wow. Let me classify that. Fast forward, I think we have about 8 of them now where I work, right? Because, it's so more people have come in.
Yeah.
And there's also been more more integration of culture.
Yeah.
You know, Canadians are very friendly people. They're very polite people too, like Canadians that were. And we've also been able to imbibe their culture, and they've also learned something from us, right? One thing I noticed is in Canada, they try to pronounce your name. They
Yes, I
don't,
give
they,
them that.
whatever,
I
no
give
matter
them
how long
that.
it is, they will
Yeah, I
try.
give them that.
The
They'll
original
try. They'll
Canadians are
ask you.
friendly. They will try. They will try to pronounce your name. In the UK, they see a foreign and they pretend like they don't know what you're talking about, right? So, but just in that trying. So, I've seen more Nigerians come in. The culture has really blended. You're seeing more acceptance, and the Canadians generally will let you. They want you to prove yourself. It's fine. They'll give you the chance to do the work, and if you don't, they'll still give you another chance. So more Nigerians in the space, more Africans have come in the space, but more quality workforce has come in.
Yes.
So I'm not saying this, like you'd see that when we first came in, and there's nothing wrong with taxi driving, there's nothing wrong with coming in and working in Walmart. Most of the people you would see 10 years ago, 15 years, 20 years ago, most, I'm not saying all, were doing the menial type jobs, right? They didn't have a trade, right? But if you fast forward now, you're going to see a lot more senior execs. You're going to have a lot more doctors, a lot more engineers.
Yeah.
People who have trades, who are either electricians or mechanics. You know, they're putting their trade to work. You know, that's one of the things I've noticed. And these people are also Africans, right? And you see a lot of people who are also starting businesses here. And that's what's changed. Another thing that's changed is house prices. You know, when we first came, house prices were in this, it's expensive, but the Edmonton house market is running away from us, right?
Gosh.
And that's something to really kind of know about. And what else? What else? Nigerian food, jollof rice has evolved. A lot of people
Has
are,
it?
yeah, it has. A lot of people have, or jollof rice has taking on a global brand,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of people are getting to accept jollof rice, fufu. I don't want to say in Africa alone, but Nigeria has assumed with immigration or immigration away from home, or the japa'd syndrome, Nigeria has assumed a better image abroad. I'm not even gonna lie. I know some people still think that we're a bit brash and we come in and bully everybody. It's the nature of the beast, right? But we've also been able to project our culture, project our music, our drama, our food to the rest of the world, that we have become more accepted, right, as people. And it's not only when you turn on the news at the time, 20 years ago, all you hear is maybe scam, right?
Yeah.
But the people have failed to understand that the people who participate these bad, evil things are only like 0.05% of our population. We've got 200 million people. The majority of Nigerians are hardworking, they are enterprising, they will turn a dollar honestly to 10, right? So in the last 10 years, I've seen that with and you know what's happened? We didn't gain that recognition through 9 to 5 work. If you look back, the thing we've gained the recognition through is culture.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that video in Canadian Quebec Parliament when two Caucasian politicians were talking about Burna Boy. I'll send it to you.
Please do.
They're talking about the fact that Burna Boy came and sold out the Scotia Arena twice. And the guy is like, I don't know if you know Burna Boy. Then the other politician replied and said, I was listening to Burna Boy yesterday. And this guy is in his mid-60s, early 60s, right? So we've gained recognition through these things, not through, and so then and that's where culture comes, and I'll talk more about that. When somebody sits down to eat your food, it means he's come close to you. He's looked you eyeball to eyeball. Now understand that, you know what, this guy's a human being at the end of the day. There's still some assholes out there who think less of you because of the color of your skin. Forget about them. Life will move on without them, okay? But the people who look at you and think and say, this guy, no, respect to this guy, to his hard work, his graft, came in through arts, mainly through culture, through the movies on Netflix, through music, through. I was shocked when they said Obama's playlist had Burna Boy, Wizkid, Thames on it. I'm like, they said Obama's best song is Last Last. I'm like, this guy doesn't know the meaning of this song, but anyhow, we take the fact that it's on his playlist. So those are the things that I look back on, the changes that have happened, how we've evolved as a people, how much of our brand is getting accepted in this country. And, I'm grateful. It's been good.
Yeah. And
Doing
now,
good.
since we're talking about culture, let's talk about your part in doing that cultural acceptance. I mean,
Okay. Yeah.
you've worked with a couple of artists, brought them down to Edmonton. I'm still beefing you all because you all
Uh,
don't bring those artists to Calgary. But we'll,
Calgary is not
we'll talk
accepted
about
us. We'll
we'll talk
bring
about,
them to Calgary. We'll bring them to
yeah.
Calgary.
But
Everybody says to me, Nosa, and I'll go back to this. This has been since I could work. I've always liked entertainment, but I've evolved not to see it as it is entertainment. I'm not taking it away, but people see entertainment as people who just come up and put somebody on the mic and make noise, right? So I've evolved, and I keep saying when somebody say you're entertainment, I say no, I'm in arts. It's just because what I do is deliberate. So what I do is I'm trying to send a message.
yeah,
So when we do an event, or when I do an event, if sometimes I worked on a lot of events that I didn't bring anybody, like all these acts you talked about, I
yeah,
probably didn't bring 90% of them, but I work on the team to either do sales, marketing, stage management, things like that. So whenever I do an event with anybody, or I do it on my own with my team, there's a lot of thought put into it. Okay. I'll give you an example. We had a comedy show called Japa'd, right? We found out that we have a lot of comedians who moved from Nigeria to Canada in the last 10 years. And with them had experiences. So what we did is I wrote a script on the Japa'd syndrome. We wanted to tell everybody else that they're engineers, they're doctors, they're lawyers here. But guess what? We have comedians here as well. So every comic came up for 30 minutes, but 15 to 30 minutes. But they landed on the immigration story. And it was deliberate. They landed on the values that we bring as a people. So to the point is anything I do or I've done in the past is trying to I feel strongly about this, that our message as a people to create equality, anti-racism, love and harmony in a society is better preached by the vehicle of arts. It's better conveyed by the vehicle of arts. I strongly believe that if you understand my if you will understand my culture and my person, is with you sitting down and sharing a meal with me. Is with you um sitting and watching a play on Ovura Menogbai say, or on understanding Nigerian history with the British with me. It's with you putting headphones on and you're hearing Burna Boy and jamming, right, and listening to the lyrics. So I've always carefully curated my events around that. Other people will just put a guy on the stage, and I think that's a differentiating factor for me. So I've given out my secret now. Every event that I put on, if it's me that's producing that event, I can show you. I still have a notebook where there's tons and tons of scripting of how this person is going to come out, what this person is going to say, how he's going to say it, because we want to make sure that everybody is welcome. So that has been my thing. I believe strongly in the culture of everybody, of people. And I think that you learn more from that space of sitting with them in a very non-casual atmosphere than always being in a very structured environment. So yeah, that's why I've done that. So from a kid, I've watched the likes of Alibaba as Bisi Olatilo, Don
yeah.
Chuku, and Dariat Alade's dad. I always wanted to be in that space. So when I was in school, I used to organize a lot of shows, beauty pageants. I worked with Daddy Shoki, Kwamwan.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. I also did AIDS Not a Show for Face. Was Plantation Boys, Basket Mouth, The Late Sound Sultan, AY. So we had an outfit in school called Events Are Us. If you wanted to do any events in Yabatek at the time, you had to come talk to us, to me and a few of my friends. So it's always that eventing has always been there. But I didn't realize that
It'll show up
it was
now.
that it would pay like this. If you go back to there's a documentary on Netflix about history
About
of Afrobeat.
history of Afrobeats. Yeah.
I'm in there, but they didn't they didn't come to me. So if you go back to Eddy Remedies and the rest of them, right? I was one of the guys who had a chance to work with Eddy Remedies because it was in my school. And when they sang the song Shakomo and stuff, and how they
Yeah.
got from, so I was instrumental on how they got the song onto radio. Not instrumental because there's a fight going on now. So my own side of the story is that at that point in time, Eddie had played one of our freshers night and he killed it with that song. There was no Idris, there was no Tetula, it was only Eddie. I don't know who has the song, but Eddie was the first to perform it. So we had a 50th year anniversary, and Ray Power came and they asked us, who are our local artists in school? So we brought up Eddie again. So that's how the music got on radio. That's as far as I know. So, but it's always been in me. And the arts, I keep saying entertainment, but the entertainment thing, let's use it for semantic reason, has always been there. It's been 20 years and plus. And I think that I believe very lot in God, right? I feel that God puts you through a few things to give you skills to use in future. And I'll tell you why, and then I'll let you take it from there. So when we started this entertainment thing and getting interested and watching, my friend ONG, who's an MC in Nigeria, was also in my school. So he'll do the comedy, but sometimes the guy who's going to do MC was never around. So I have to jump on the mic and do MC, do producer at the back and all that. Put the generator on, get the DJ, make sure it's paid, make sure you collect money at the gate. So I was doing MC not knowing, but I was always watching BC Olatilo, watching great MCs, Alibaba and Arad on TV. So fast forward years, I'm in the UK with my £278 to do a course. And so I always tell a joke that when I went, one time they kicked me out of school in the UK, and they said the reason is I've not paid my school fees. And I said to them, they said, when are you going to pay? I said, I don't have money. And the cashier starts to laugh. You're funny. That's how I realized I was funny, and I started doing empty stuff, because hunger begats talent. When you're hungry, you realize the talent in you. So I'd only done one MC work in Nigeria before I left. I did it for one of my pastors, and he didn't even pay me. So, but I got to the UK, said, okay, you know what? There's no MCs here. Nobody does wedding MC. It wasn't a thing in Nigerian weddings. They just give everybody food, they play band, and they go. So I begged this couple was going to do a wedding, and I went to them and begged and said, hey, can I be your MC? They're like, no, we got somebody. Then it was Tunde Ednut. They had Tunde Ednut coming in from London to Manchester. Tunde was in London then. And the guy's like, no, I already have somebody coming. I said, okay, no problem. So he came back to me on the Thursday of the wedding, to Saturday of the wedding. He's like, the guy is charging, his prices are high. He's a good MC, but I don't have the money. Will you do it for me? I'm like, I'll do it for you for free. So then it started. Realized that I was funny, realized I could do this. And that's how I paid my fees. Being the wedding MC, being an event MC. So my point is, whatever you go through in life, there's always something that they are putting in you small. If you activate it in future, it will make you some financial or economic gains to help you achieve your goals.
Yeah. And when you talk about this art and culture thing, I do agree. I think it's not entertainment. I think it's art and culture. So my dad used to, I think about my life now. My dad is late. My mom is late. But I think about my dad. My dad's thesis for his master's was oral literature, and how it's a funnel to pass stuff. And I find that I'm not so different from him in terms of what I'm doing right now, podcasting, trying to build a media business for immigrants and just telling human stories and stuff. Because literally, you're right. Like, intelligence is not what moves the world. Intelligence moves the world forward. But intelligence alone is not exactly what moves the world to a really good place, because you need empathy. And empathy comes from understanding the culture, sharing a meal together, listening to my music and understanding what drives me, understanding my proverbs, understanding my nuances, my cultural nuances. And culture is the only thing that has the vehicles, the various vehicles that allows you express those things without seeming out of place. Because the workplace itself doesn't have that space for that. The workplace is, we need to make money, so let's make money. So we're a banker. No, these are the rules. But culture allows you to do that. And like, for me, I totally agree with you. I don't think we should even call it entertainment. It's not entertainment. It's actually arts and culture. That's what it is. Because that's what drives the world forward. People might say intelligence makes us money, but culture gives us the empathy
to understand
to understand how people work, and then build tools but it's a
You're totally correct. You're totally correct. Like it's entertainment is an offshoot of arts and culture. You get
yes.
entertained while
Yeah.
you're enjoying the arts,
Yeah.
but and that's why it has to be deliberate. For me,
Mm-hmm.
if you just put up like I like we're doing a festival in June, right? I told the curators, I said, guys, I want to be involved. I don't want to be involved in this, but just so you know, the director, like, I need you guys. I don't want everybody just jumping on stage, but I need you guys to curate something and throw it out there or present it to the people that they understand where we're coming from, what our culture is, right? And for me, that is key, and that's dear to my heart. You have to be sending a message. If there's no message, then that's where the
What are you
problem is.
doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think we should end this here. Like, this is a really good place to end this. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Dozie. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. And thanks for doing this. You now kind of spurred me on to be able to start my own podcast, because I've been pushing this thing for 3 years, right? So hopefully we'll bring you on, and we'll also, and if you ever need us, if you're ever in Edmonton.
Sure. Thank you so much for listening to this. Like, I hope you enjoyed it. Nosa is a really fantastic human being. And by the way, he's building the festival in Edmonton. If you're in Edmonton, you should really follow him and check out his festival. It's really dope. It's African. It's got a lot of amazing things going on. But again, as usual, please, if you have someone who's going to like this episode, please share with them. If you know someone we should talk to, please send them my way and I'll reach out to them myself. You don't have to do anything. Just send them my way. I'll reach out to them myself. But have a beautiful day and thank you so much.